and confirm this, where since 1940, Clemson has had 5 athletic directors. Is that a misprint? How about that? That is incredible. When you think about that kind of consistency, that tells you right there, they go after the best because they do a great job when they're there. Also, Clemson's baseball team's only had 2 coaches since the 50s. Now, how's that for consistency right there? Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. You long-time Tiger observers, I'm a long-time Carolina observer who watched Clemson with one eye, of course, because of arch rival, but Butch Satazlev, great basketball player from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, could really fill it up, long-range shots, and understand he kind of made you aware of Clemson sports back in those days. He's in the Hall of Fame up in those parts. Please welcome Dan Radakovich.
Gene, thank you. Well, it's great to be back in Columbia. It's a place that has a lot of great memories, but I want to have a few thank yous here this afternoon. I want to thank Jim Ingram for pulling this together. Great Clemson Tiger, and appreciate him picking me up today. Certainly, Wayne and Nancy, thank you for the sponsorship and allowing me to be here the day that you honor your son Bob as a great Clemson Tiger as well. It's good to be here. From 1994 to 2000, I had the privilege of working for Dr. Mike McGee here at the University of South Carolina, and did have to go to an awful lot of staff meetings with Art Baker, with Harold White, and did learn an awful lot about athletic administration from that group. John Moore also was one of the senior members of that staff. And what was interesting is there was not a lot of, the word rank was used back in the mid to late 90s as it related to the Gamecocks, but normally didn't have a number next to it. Those weren't some really good years for the Gamecocks, but I will tell you that the work that was done by Dr. McGee, I don't know how much credit he gets here, but some of the things that he was able to do, some of his ideas that he was able to put into motion really are showing the fruit. That tree that was planted back in the mid-90s, late 90s, is bearing fruit at this point in time. For someone who had been a part of that, it's great to be able to see that. Now, we have competitions throughout the year, and competitions are great. That's why we're in this business. That's why we're part of intercollegiate athletics. And that type of competition is really important, and it's fierce, and it's great to have that. But it's even better when you have respect for your opponent. There's a lot of people in both leagues, the ACC and the SEC, where you might not have great respect for what they do or how they built their programs, or Coach Spurrier, or certainly Coach Tanner, someone who I've known for a long time. But you have respect. I have respect for what goes on here, and really, when we have the opportunity to win a game against the University of South Carolina, we celebrate that. We celebrate that at Clemson. Our women's soccer program happened to come up here and beat a very, very good women's soccer program. Our volleyball team had an opportunity to win the other day. And one of the things I do for our coaches, just to make sure that they realize that winning that game is important, not only within our walls, but within all the people who are here in Columbia and throughout the state. We give them a little can of soup. Give them a little can of soup. You can imagine what flavor soup that is. So we give them a little can of soup so they can remember that and just let the other coaches know, hey, look, this is something that's really important for us. But of course, they do know that. They know that anyway. I want to talk a little bit more about Coach McGee for a second, because sitting around that table, in addition to Harold and Art and John Moore, were some people who Mike made sure had the opportunity to move forward in athletic administration. Lori Massa, who was our senior women's administrator, is now the director of athletics and has been for a good while at John Carroll University in Ohio. Chris Massaro, who is our director of marketing and ticketing, has been the director of athletics and has been for a long while at Middle Tennessee. Kerry Tharp, while he was our sports information voice, he's kind of left college athletics, but he's certainly not in a job that is outside of sports. He's the vice president for communications with NASCAR in Charlotte. Brad Edwards, another one of the people who are involved there, is now the director of athletics at George Mason. And Jeff Barber, who was the director of the Gamecock Club, is now the director of athletics at Liberty University. So all those folks went on to really great things, and I ended up at Clemson. So as the alumni get around, they say, well, look at all those guys, they did great things, and then Radakovich, he ended up going to the dark side. But it's a pleasure, it's a pleasure to be here. During that time in Columbia, in order to learn those things, not only did Mike have to give all of us the ability to be exposed to a lot of things, we worked an awful lot of long hours. And my wife Marcy and I were blessed with two boys, and just a little personal moment here. My oldest son, when I was at Georgia Tech, graduated from Georgia Tech. He now lives in Atlanta and works in Atlanta. And my youngest son, Grant, is a collegiate student athlete. He's a football player at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. This week they play Stetson University in DeLand. So because the Tigers are off this week, I'll have an opportunity to see him play, which is always great. Any of the dads out there, understand how good that is. During that time, though, because I was working, my wife was working, Grant was really little, we were incredibly fortunate to have a young lady who's here today, Heather. Heather, please stand. Heather and her husband, Michael, who are now in Garnet Black and have been for an awful long time. She was our nanny, au pair, best friend, took care of Grant, and they have wonderful children of their own, but they're always able to say, kind of look at our two boys and say they really helped raise them. So,
taught me everything
Heather,
I know about raising two boys.
Thank you. That was awesome. As we move ahead for this football season, the Clemson Tigers played those Georgia Bulldogs on the first week of the season in Athens, and as you guys know, that's a heck of an atmosphere. They were really difficult. They're going to be tough to play tomorrow, and I know it's going to be a really good game. But I think that as the season goes on, it's going to be a testament of, again, the football seasons are all marathons. They're not sprints. We have these 8 months of workup to say, wow, look at everybody's going to do this, and they're going to do that. All the prognosticators tell me nothing against you, but it's not about the prognosticators. It's about what the student athletes do on the field. And there's great competition in the Southeastern Conference. There's great competition in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So we're looking forward to our next opportunity when we go and play the top-ranked Florida State Seminoles. It's going to be another really great test. So as we look forward to our football season, both here and in Clemson, there's some really great entertaining football games on the docket. Part of what was read in my bio is this year I'm watching college football a little differently. As a member of the College Football Playoff Committee, I have to watch I don't have to, but as part of our due diligence to select the 4 best teams, being able to be a part of understanding who are those teams, not just by what a computer says, not by what a sports writer's vote is. What are the qualities that make up top 25 ranked team and then move forward and have teams ranked in the top 4 to be able to be placed in the first ever college football playoff? The other 12 members of the committee and myself have dedicated our time and effort this fall to that task. It is different. I've watched more college football in the first 2 weeks and now 3 weeks. Last night, BYU in Houston was an exciting game than I had outside of Clemson for the last couple of years. But that's the time commitment that we look to make. That was important for us as being a member of that committee to be able to say to the people at the end, yes, we did the due diligence. Here are the metrics that we used individually to look to select those 4 teams. So we're very excited about that. We know that there's going to be criticism associated with whoever, actually the criticism will be who's ever number 5 or 6. Very different than the college basketball playoff committee. Normally the 69th or 70th team, those that are left out, don't have a great opportunity. My two kids, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Barry Alvarez says I'm in 3 Hall of Fames, and Coach Osborne said I was a congressman, and former great coach and athletic director at Nebraska. Kind of keep going around, and it comes to Condoleezza Rice. She says, well, my name is Condoleezza Rice. I'm the former provost at Stanford. I'm the such and such fellow at Stanford, professor of political science, concentration in Russian. I'm a Notre Dame Law alum. I enjoy this, and this, and I'm the former Secretary of State. Secretary of State. So it comes to me. I don't have any famous sons. I think they're good, but they're not that famous. I was the secretary of our football club. I was there. So I get up there, and after she was done, I said, pass. Just kind of showed my name tag. But it's a great group. You would think with all those people, with all their accolades and all the things that they understand about college football, that it would be something where where conversation was not free. But I will tell you, in our first 4 meetings, there's no one that's talking too much. There's no one trying to be overbearing in the conversation. There's no one talking too little, trying to just kind of be off to the side and be secretive. There's great debate. And there's great discussion back and forth as we look to go forward with this very important task. So as we move forward through this year, think about us. Give us a little nod every now and then, knowing that the task is going to be very, very difficult. As I close up here and just want to say a couple things more about Clemson before some answers. One of the things in our business right now, and I see Charles Waddell back there, and Charles would understand this better than most. The 52-inch plasma television with HD capabilities is really, while it's great to have them throughout the stadium because your fans love that, it's really a competitor. It's a competitor because now you have to leave your living room to come to a game, and you have to go through traffic, and you have to park, and you have to get into the stadium. And I know all of the athletic programs in the Big 5 conferences are making this a priority, and we're certainly doing it at Clemson. We want you to have a great Clemson experience when you come to Death Valley for a game. From the time you leave your driveway, to the time you hit your parking spot, to the time you get into the gate, to the time you watch the game, get back in your car and go home. We want you to have a positive experience. So we've done things at Death Valley, like we've increased the capability of our distributed antenna system 10 times more than it was a year ago. In our first game against South Carolina State, we received 0 complaints about people not being able to text or make telephone calls. So our friends at Verizon did a wonderful job in helping us there. Credit cards, televisions at concession stands. We did about 14 different upgrades this past year, and we'll look to do 15 in 2015 as well. We have to keep moving forward. We have to do that at Clemson. Charles and the folks here have to continue to do that at Carolina, because the entertainment dollar and the thing that makes college athletics so great is when all of you are supporting your teams and you're there. We've got to make that experience as simple as possible, because we have a great competitor that you have in your living room each and every day. So with that, I just want to say thank you to the Columbia Touchdown Club for having the opportunity to have me here. I want to say, as I said earlier, it's great to be back in Columbia. It's warm, as I normally remember it. But to all those people out there wearing orange, go Tigers. Appreciate that a lot. And I want to open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Given the fact that television drives the financial stuff, is there anything that the athletic directors and the president can do to help shorten the game? Is it getting long enough?
I tried to do my best with that when I was at Georgia Tech. I hired Paul Johnson. He doesn't throw the ball, therefore we can get a game done in 2.5 hours. That was important for the plan. But you have a lot of factors coming coming in. People are throwing the ball more, clock stops, and you're right, the commercials are there because we are getting more money from television. The Southeastern Conference has launched their network. That's a very lucrative thing for them. The Big Ten has theirs. The Atlantic Coast Conference is in discussions about starting theirs. There will be more television out there than there is even today. The idea of creating that balance of 3 hours and 17 minutes, I think, was the average game time last year. Some games, especially the marquee games, tend to go a little longer. Plus, back 15 or 20 years ago, the scores of the game were 21-17, 17-10, especially in Death Valley. Believe me, I hear a lot of these, Danny Ford, he won those games 17-14. It was over 2.5 hours. And we were back in the parking lot. Well, we throw it a little more, we score a little more, and after every touchdown, you're going to get a commercial, and those games have gotten longer because of those opportunities. But it is something that we have to be cognizant of. It needs to happen. But as far as domestic violence, Clemson student athletes, I think Coach Sweeney said it earlier this week. I know Coach Spurrier said it earlier this week. Zero tolerance. It just can't happen. Well, we're going to go to our Board of Trustees in October to get the second phase approval for the rebuild of Little John Coliseum. We're going to do a major project there. At the end of this football season, we're going to redo all the suites and club areas inside Death Valley. We're also going to create a little bit of a skywalk between the lower north and lower south area to make it easier for our fans to get back and forth. We have a baseball project ongoing right now. We're also looking to pull together a football operations center, which will house everything associated with football under one roof: training, weightlifting, meetings, office spaces, right adjacent to our indoor practice facility. So those are the big things that we're doing. Come December, we'll have 3 of those projects underway: baseball and the 2 at Memorial Stadium, and then come next May, we'll add Little John under construction to that as well.
How about one more?
Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. My question is this: a lot of people in this room probably know this that have been around for a long time. They go back years and years, and you probably recall from when you were here at the university, it was always customary that the Touchdown Club would always have the head coach of Carolina and the head coach of Clemson in each year. Now, I believe, except for possibly his first and maybe his second season, we've been very unsuccessful in getting Coach Dabo to come on down here and talk to us. Would you happen to have any ideas of why?
Funny story about that. I called Dabo this morning, and I said, "Hey, Dabo, want to go to lunch?" I said, "I got a plane, and we can go and have lunch." And this is the truth. He goes, "Dan, I have my annual physical this morning." He goes, "Where are you going to lunch?" I said, "Going to Columbia, to the Columbia Touchdown Club." He goes, "Well, I'm not going to change my appointment." But, I think it's hard to get coaches on the schedule, because of their off weeks and their commitments during the season. It really, really is. I could recall back to my time at Georgia Tech. Paul Johnson might be able to do one. Of course, Coach Spurrier right here, I saw it in the program that he did his in August before the season started. It's nothing against touchdown clubs, believe me. They're just very difficult to get on a coach's calendar. But I'll certainly, he wanted me to, and I do need to do this, he wanted me to send his hellos to everyone here, and looks forward to coming back in a couple of years. Thank you all very much. It's great to be here.